We were looking earlier on at a handheld device, and it's got a setting. You say, make this more accessible. And I know that my PC has things. You say, make this more accessible. If you're looking at a website, do you look at it from the point of view of none of those things being turned on, or all of those things being turned on? How do you deal with that middleman that's being given by your
generally, we assume that none of those things are turned on, with the exception that if someone needs a screen reader, then they've got a screen reader. But those lower level things, then no, we assume they don't exist.
Yeah.
That really, and we're mostly talking about web content here. We try and get people to build websites that don't need all those extra features.
Yeah.
Not all of those are targeted at web anyway. Some of them are for applications.
Yeah.
So, because in principle, people could be using any computer. They could go into a library and use a computer, or internet cafe or whatever, and not be able to turn those settings on.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of that configuration of lots of different devices, lots of different ways they could be set up, there's a base setup that you would expect.
Yeah, we have to be pragmatic. As with any testing, there's only so much budget, so much time, and there's rarely enough time to do the basic stuff, let alone going on to those all those extra things.
And is the basics governed by what you legally have to meet as requirements?
Right. Yeah, the law doesn't actually specify a technical level of accessibility. The law just simply says you must not discriminate on the grounds of disability, and unfortunately only a court of law can tell you if you're compliant or not.
So it's a bit wishy-washy, really.
They couldn't really have done anything different.
Okay.
But it leads to some really bizarre corollaries, such as a website may or may not be compliant depending who it belongs to. So if a website needs a lot of work doing to make it accessible, and you're a small company with small resources, the court would say it's not reasonable to force you to spend £100,000. But if you're Amazon or something with all the money in the world, you should fix that. Worse still, the same website may be compliant in respect of one person and non-compliant in respect of another person. So it's very difficult for companies to know how much testing and fixing they need to do. And this is exacerbated by the absence of case law in the UK. With the exception of the BMI Baby case, even though the DDA and Equality Act have been around for 21 years, there's almost no case law.
I don't know what the BMI Baby thing
All right,
is.
they're the airline, and must be 2 years ago, they were told that their website was not accessible to people who needed to use screen readers, and they did nothing. And long story short, the RNIB got involved because they are a powerful lobbying group with a lot of money, and they told BMI Baby, your website needs to be fixed, we can help you with that. And BMI Baby said, not interested. So RNAB said, right, we'll take you to court. And they did, and they won. And BMI Baby, they had really bad PR out of it. It's cost them a lot of money. They're having to fix all this stuff. They handled it all extraordinarily badly.
But there is that little bit of case law.
There's that one tiny bit of case law, and that's all there is for 21 years of the DDA. Plenty of others have gone to court, but they've settled either before it got to court or during the process. And the usual thing, you're not allowed to say anything, so no one knows what the outcome was.
There's no precedent that comes out.
So basically, people have got bought off. So it's difficult to know what you need to do. Our advice to big organisations is make sure you meet WCAG AA, all the technical stuff. do the expert review that I mentioned with assistive technologies, do user testing with a reasonable spread of people from different disability groups, fix what you find, and then for the stuff you can't fix, create a roadmap to show how you're going to get from where you are to where you need to be. You've got to look into the technical constraints on what you can and can't do, cost up the various things, and have a plan. And if you've done that and you have to go to court, in my opinion, is you'll have a very defensible position to say, we've done all this, there's our plan. We cannot move any faster than this because of the technical constraints. And so far, none of our clients have been sued.
Cool.
So if I'm a new tester, I've not done any accessibility testing before, where would I start?
Right. Probably, to start off with, you have to understand web technologies. So you've got to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, front-end web technologies. Then I'd say start to read bits of WCAG. It is a dauntingly large document. It's huge. Very few people have read all of it, even people in the business. So I would say take a bit of it, one of the success criteria, learn what it means, and in the W3C website, the document sort of links off to various places. So I'd say take one, read the things it links to, and then think about how to test that. Because for any given success criteria, there may be many different ways of testing it, depending on how a website's coded. So, for instance, with images, if you've got an inline image, it can have an alt attribute, because you've got to have alternate text for images that are conveying content. But if you've got a background image, you can't put an alt attribute on that, so you need some other way of providing a text alternative. And so this is why you have to get into the code and understand it. And a lot of the time when we're so-called testing, we're actually just trying to pick apart how this website works. Because developers do the most insane things that it can take ages to work out what it's doing. And then you think, why are they doing it this way? And how are we going to fix that? So I'd say it's like eating an elephant, one little bit at a time, learn how to do that, and then move on to another success criteria and learn about that. What I wouldn't do is read the whole thing, because you just give up, it'll just melt your brain.